Well, we're going to get started. This is a great Tuesday. Of course, we're waiting for our co host to join us. It's not that she's late or anything. She's in Florida, and I am in Atlanta. So we're really happy to be with you this week. A very interesting topic. Well, while we're waiting for others to come on, we'll just get started talking about some of the announcements, some of the things that are happening here in Atlanta. And if there's some things that are happening in your areas, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to talk about it. I don't know what it is, but I'm just actually exhausted today. I'm not sure it's the fall weather or what the coolness. And are you all experiencing anything like that? It's like I'm just really kind of like cool a little bit. I don't mean cool like cold. I mean like just really calm. And so hopefully I can get my hype back on and get our program started tonight. But in Atlanta, a lot of things are happening here. Of course, and across the country, I'm sure that many of you all are dealing with the COVID situation. I'm sure you all are still hoping that people get the vaccinations and the boosters and whatever else they need to remain healthy and safe while we're going through this situation. But I just believe that we should not keep waiting for things to go back, folks, because things are not going to be going back to anywhere. We need to think about the future. Think about the future and how we can make the best of this situation. It appears that my Facebook Live is not working tonight. We're not sure what's happening. It says there are some data issues, but we're gonna keep it moving. We're gonna keep it moving. This is live, so we expect anything to happen. Anything to happen. My name is Dr. Willie Miles. I am the president of Dr. Willie Miles Foundation, located here in Atlanta, Georgia. And folks, as of January this year, we celebrated our 1 year anniversary. And I say, what an anniversary. We tried to launch last year, and of course, COVID came right in. We had our little lunch party ready and big events and guests coming in. Of course, that was canceled very quickly. But I'm of the opinion that nothing just happens, and I'm of the opinion that everything that happens to me is never for bad. It's always for my good. So I don't care how negative people see things. For me, everything that happens, it happens for my good. So here we are last year having to change the agency from a brick and mortar to a virtual organization. So we are a virtual 501c3 tax-exempt organization located here in Atlanta, Georgia, making a difference. And we did quite well last year. We're going to continue to do well. We made that shift very, very quickly. And the shift involved us changing our format from going to take our services somewhere to actually making sure that we bring our services to your homes. We bring our to your home. So that's what we're doing. That happened last year. We're moving into 2021, doing the very same thing. Jackie, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Dr. Miles? My apologies.
Giving the audience somewhat of a view of what we went through last year to get to where we are today.
Right.
Last year, we did some great things. And for a matter of fact, we're at that giving time again, for you all to give us so we can give others. Last year, we made sure that families had Thanksgiving baskets. We acknowledged the first responders by making sure that I think over 100 Chick-fil-A sandwiches were delivered to the fire stations, along with one of our partners, the Atlanta Firefighters Rescue Association. And then for Christmas time, we made sure that many of our families got, they didn't get $10 gift certificates. They got $20, $50, and $100 gift certificates. And no red strings, no lengthy paperwork, no give us your child. People were suffering last year. So guess what, folks? We need your help this year. I want to do bigger and better this year. But I can only do that if you all donate to us. Now, I don't mind saying, and Jackie's aware of this because she was a part of it last year, I used my own monies last year, and I don't mind doing that because I just believe to whom much is given, much is required. Mm-hmm. So I just believe that what we give, we'll get it back. And so my appeal to you is make a donation to us, because we can assure you that 95% of those funds will go directly back to the community. And I guess the question is, what will I do with the next? What would you do with the other 5%? Well,
Pay for all this broadcast and advertising and flyers and design, and there's a lot to that. And Dr. Miles, I wanted to add to that, you know, we make an effort to reach people who are not otherwise being reached. Because, you know, the traditional routes of you know, support during the holidays, they go to sometimes like the same people over and over. So we were really reaching out for those. We made a point of saying, hey, if you know, are in a position where you can't buy your child a gift and you want to do something like that, and looking forward to being able to double those efforts this year for sure.
Right. And the other thing I wish I mentioned, the other 5%, Jackie, and that 5% doesn't really cover that cost for us.
I know. That's why I laughed.
It's for our payment system to process your donation.
So when you think about that, right?
Yeah, when you give to us, the mechanism we're using is actually taking our percentage to pay for the processing of that.
Right.
So we're not anything, Jackie and I are not making any salaries, folks. We're not raking in the big bucks. We're here doing this as a community.
No salaries.
No salaries, not from this. I mean, so again, I'm going to implore you all to take some time, make a donation to us. Make a donation to us. The holidays are coming up, and we want to start announcing. We want to start announcing what we're going to be helping people with. You know, let me give you a little time to talk about this. You know, I'll be finished in a few minutes. You know, people are always talking about, well, everybody ought to be working. They should go and get their own. But see, you don't know what it feels like until you've been in those situations. See, I've been unemployed before and not knowing where the next meal is coming from. You know, I've lived in a place and not known, you know, how the rent was going to be paid after having so much. I lived in a place where I was actually homeless. So my heart is prepared to help those that have experienced that. So something happened to Jackie also. I guess she'll be back on shortly, but we're going to keep it moving, folks. But again, I want to make that appeal to you to help us to help others. Again, I'm Dr. Willie Miles. I am the president of Dr. Willie Miles Foundation, located here in Atlanta, Georgia, 501c3 organization, not-for-profit, and I can share with you that whatever you give us is tax deductible. Well, let's get into the topic for tonight. We've lost her somehow, but I'm going to carry this without her until she gets back. You know, it's kind of amazing that the topic this week is focused on, you know, single and dating. Not just single and dating. What about my children? And for those of you who know me, you know I'm a therapist, so I deal with a lot of women who are having difficulties with their children and difficulty with their lives and difficulty with managing things by themselves. And what's so interesting about this is that Jackie says she's back, but we don't see her. What's so interesting about that, these women, many of them are wanting to be good parents, and they don't want anything to interfere with their child rearing. Jackie, you're on. I don't send the request. You have to make the request to come back on. So I don't send anything to you. You send a request to me, and I'll approve for you to come on. All right. All right, here we are. Let's get it back. Okay. There must be some weather issues out there because our data is not going well. All right. You're back.
I'm back.
All right. So I'm not sure what happened, but we got to keep it moving. We're talking about single women dating, and I say with children. And of course, we're not talking about actually dating with children, but I was sharing with our audience that many women that I treat are single women, and they're trying to make things happen, and they're doing the best they can do with trying to raise children. But they're also young women. You know, they're trying to figure out, should I date? You know, will it hurt my children? But not only will it hurt the children, but will it hurt you? And are you ready for it? So our topic tonight is, can you balance that? Can you balance? It's not to be judgmental, folks. Not to say you should or you shouldn't. We're here to talk about the balancing of it. And it can be a very tough balancing act. But Jackie, as we get into the conversation, I'm going to throw it out there when we talk about what kind of single, whether they are single through divorce, whether they were never married, or whether they're separated, those kinds of singleness.
Single through widowed, right? Have they been
Right.
widowed, right? So, go ahead.
No, I said, but the data shows at this point, there are about 14 million women who are single with children in this country. 14 million women.
Well,
Are,
and just for clarification, Dr. Miles is actually saying single parents that might include some dads.
well, the data shows that that the majority of them are women. So I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to focus really on the single
On the
women.
women tonight.
So that's where the issue has been with single women dating.
Okay.
But also, those single women who are the 14 million are taking care of 21.6 million children.
Wow.
You can sort of like see it can be a dilemma. Like, should I date? Should I not date? What impact does it have on the children? So, Jackie, let's just jump into it.
And we do know people who are single women who choose not to date for many, many reasons. And if they do date, and again, we are going to get to the statistics, they don't, date, quote unquote, inside their homes, or they don't, bring their dates home. They may go out because, that big question, and I can imagine it for anyone single, but is one, is this a serious relationship? And of course, it takes time to get to that. Two, can I envision making this person a part of their family? But that real issue, Dr. Miles, when we cut it down, how is this person going to interact with my children? Are my children safe with this person? So it really is a big dilemma. I want to just put that out there. Let's just keep it real. You never really know.
Well, before we get to that to C and D, it really is, what are the women looking for in that relationship? So the big question is, can I envision myself being with this person? And so I want to stick right there for a second. Can you envision yourself being with this person you want to date? Or are you just dating, this like one this
For
week,
entertainment,
one next week, and so forth? And so the impact on children is going to be totally different. And I am a suggestion. We can't tell you what to do because you're grown, but if you're going to do that, don't bring these folk to your house.
I mean, that's the simple part. We would certainly like to think. And even when you decide to be serious, you still have to think twice about bringing them to your home. Really, I just can't imagine what it's like to be in that position, Dr. Miles.
Well, Jack, I can tell you, we say it's very simple, but it for them, but I deal with this stuff daily. And today's woman,
I mean, the challenges are not in terms of being simple, but very just very obvious. It's a big dilemma. It's a difficult question, actually.
It is one. It is a big dilemma. But what I'm seeing women do is date freely, but also invite these persons of interest into their homes freely. So in other words, what begins to happen is that as they're dating Jackie, they have a date this week. The kids are there. They say, I'm bringing Mr. So-and-so over today for dinner. The next week, they actually introduce their child to another person. So this is not, I'm not talking about, this is hypothetical. I'm talking about things that I'm actually witnessing through counseling. And the question, what kind of damage or what kind of harm am I doing to children? But Jackie, that's down the road. I want to stay focused on this thing is, what do you envision?
And we also have to acknowledge, just for the record, the gamut and the range of dating scenarios, okay? Because certainly the dating and bringing home a different person every week is within the scenarios. We also know that there are those who maybe they wait until it's serious and bring them home, I think faced with some of the same issues. Now, when you're dating, and I'm just going to use the term recreationally or for entertainment, or let's just say casually, and you bring all those people to meet your children. Honestly, Dr. Miles, I find that extreme. And you can imagine, I would think, I mean, you're in the business, I would imagine it'd be very disturbing to your children when they're meeting different people on an ongoing basis.
Well, the thing about it is that the women who do that don't disturb me, because what they do, they make the children aware and they engage them in it. So therefore, they feel that they have a buy-in. But it doesn't mean that, though. It doesn't mean
I
that.
mean, so the question is, which you've asked, what role does the person play in the mother's life, and what role do you think they're going to play in your child's life if they're there for dinner this week and someone else is there for dinner next week? I honestly, you know, and I guess I might be, this may seem judgmental, but I don't really understand exposing your children to all of these people just in general. I mean, you don't expose your children to a lot of people. So to be bringing them into your home weekly or even monthly seems that it would be problematic.
Well, the thing about it is that of the women who do that, it is justified by them saying, you know, I talk to my children, and not only that, but I know the individual. And the question is, do you really know the individual? But the part two to this comment about bringing them over, I have situations, not only do they bring this person over that they only known for a week, but then the person moves in. And so, you know, what I want to do is talk about the woman first and about what she may be thinking. And if you're all out there and you're, of course, you're listening to us, please put your comments in our comment box and we'll be more than happy to address that. But they think that because they've been open, and they call it open communications with their children, and their children understand them, that is, it's okay. Now, again, we're not here judging. When I say okay, they're thinking the child understands. And we say child, we can sort of like talk about what from 5-year-old to 8 or 8 to 12. But at any rate, I just think that people who do that need to be very careful, very careful. One, it says a lot about yourself and your vulnerabilities.
Absolutely. And when we suggest that a child understands, what is it we're saying the child understands? I mean, the child's capacity to understand any of it uh, at such an early age, and I'm going to go ahead and say even as a teenager, because that's also a very confusing time. So the child's capacity to quote unquote understand, I would raise the question of what exactly is it they understand, that you date casually, that they're likely to meet a lot of different people. What understanding are we saying the child has?
Well, the thing about it, when these parents talk to the children about this person, their intent is not to have someone next week, but it only just lasts until Tuesday. So they find themselves in this cycle of reintroducing. So it's not like my children understand that every week I'm gonna have somebody. It is, when I met this person, I envisioned that they were gonna be with me. So I invite them into my home the first week. Unfortunately, but not only do I invite them to my home, but they stay over. And so it doesn't work out. The
So,
person,
Dr. Miles, clearly we're speaking about a maturity issue. If someone dates for a week and has this, and even thinks that they've established a long-term relationship.
well, the thing about it, yeah, I'll share with you, and I'm telling you where I am with this. Yeah, I try not to pass judgment. I try to understand what they're thinking and their rationale for it, whether it's off or not to me. Are you with me?
I'm
So
totally with you.
yeah,
And that's why you're a therapist.
yeah.
And I'm not, because just being a female, being a mom, you know, and being honest, the idea of dating someone for a week and saying, hey, I think this is long term, I want them to meet my kids.
Well, they're not even see where you are, and it's according. Let me use this. It's according to which lens you're looking at this through, also, because you're saying no somebody for a week. I have situations where I met them on Saturday. They're at my house on Monday, and so because
And so I question that person's maturity.
yeah, I I I I don't necessarily question their maturity. I question what have they gone through that makes them so vulnerable. You know
Okay,
what
I understand. Right.
what
What you're saying is we were kind of saying that the visitor
mhm.
is possibly taking advantage of a situation. And so the person who's open to that at such an early stage in the relationship is vulnerable.
Yeah,
Okay.
not only that, but they have this expectation that because I'm impressed with you for those 12 hours at the club or 6 hours at the club, I've been with you, and then we went out to breakfast Sunday morning, that you are good for me. And so the woman, because of her vulnerabilities, began to believe that this person is good for them, and they invite them into the home. Now, we're talking about single women and dating. And I guess some people say, well, guess what? I don't know what kind of women you're talking about, but yeah, but if you're educated, you wouldn't do that. Or if you had this, you wouldn't do that. But I'm finding across the board, because some women, not all, some women are in a situation of wanting to have a man in their lives. When they find one that appears to be good, ready, in 48 hours, they're ready to commit.
Well, we're going to move this conversation forward, because every time I hear that, Dr. Miles, my response is going to be the same. That is not an emotionally mature person. I understand, that maybe clinically we use the term vulnerable, and certainly they are, if they're making decisions about relationships in 48 hours. Because, as we did some of this research, it talks about, do I see this as a long-term relationship? And you're saying, yes, those decisions are being made prematurely. I certainly understand that. The next question, that comes up in the research is, confirming your commitment to your children. You're talking about making a commitment to another individual, and them making that commitment not only to you, but to your children. So in 48 hours, you've met someone, and you're ready to make a decision, a lifelong decision, not just for yourself, but for you and your children. And that, of course, is our issue. Where does it place the children when these sort of decisions are being made?
Yeah, what I want to do, Jack, and I want to try to keep this clear. I don't want you to try to keep me on task, because I can very easily start talking about the person who's gone through traumas who do this versus the woman who is, the worker, the woman who is the breadwinner, the woman who is progressive, the woman who says, I'm a mother who I have some standards for myself and my children. I want to date. But is it okay for me to date? So there's several kinds. I tend to go to the mental health side.
Right.
So but there's another side that says women who don't have mental health issues, who just want to date. They want to get back to norm.
Right. And let's talk about those who say, okay, after 3 months of dating outside my home, how is this going to affect my children to bring them in? Or, 6 months or a year, or whatever guidelines people may be setting up. Because of course, all of those are short term when you consider that you're looking at having someone in your life and your child's life permanently.
Right. And I ask, how is this conversation tonight relevant to children? Well, I think it's quite relevant. It's quite relevant.
Honestly, this conversation is why many children have trauma. We know that most children are abused by people they know and acquaintance. So it is certainly directly related to children, and it's related to their well-being. Children don't have a choice when their parents bring someone else into the home.
Right.
And we have yet to even discuss the fact that once you bring this person into the home, the likelihood of them now being alone in your home with your child.
Right.
So it really is a loaded topic. And it's touchy. Let's put it that way. It's a very touchy topic. People are going to assert their rights to date. And of course you do. The question becomes, what are your child's rights to safety, a sense of security, and to asking you not to perhaps, and I don't mean asking you directly, but maybe through behavior, saying, please don't just keep bringing a lot of people here, or please make sure the person that you think you want to be with is also going to be good for me. I mean, I think children have that right.
Well, no, you're right, but parents have a responsibility to be considerate of their children and their children's needs. And we'll talk about a little of that tonight, because one of the questions I have is, how do boys respond to their mother's dating? But that's down the road. We're going to get to that. I don't want to jump there yet. So there's some key questions that women should ask themselves when being single, dating with children. What do I envision my life to be like with this person? And if that's too deep, what do I envision the moments that I'm with this person to be like? And do I at any point want to engage them with my family.
Right.
Because
And let's stay there for a second.
Mhm.
So if you're dating and you're not engaging them with your family, you're going out with whatever frequency, when you're not risking your children's well-being as an adult, I think, people on average would say, that's fine. That's your right. You're an adult. You can do that. So this really is more about when you do decide to now affect your child's life with your dating decisions.
Well, the thing about it is that the topic is really about how to balance it, how to balance these things.
Okay.
And I think the answer to it is that it can be balanced, but it takes sacrifice. It takes some sacrifice. And we keep talking about the children's life, but I think it's also her life. I mean, it is, and I don't want to say that every person who comes into your life, is a predator or are endangering children. We're talking about even just emotionally. We're talking about having the children to meet this person and how do they engage with them? Do they have children themselves? And it's those kind of things we're talking about.
Right.
So I don't want single parents start dating is having this fear factor that whoever you date may be a predator. We don't know. So what I'm saying to you is that these are some things you ask yourself in advance before you even bring the person to your home. This is old school, but in the old school, when grown folk did stuff like that, the kids never knew about it.
Exactly.
They never saw the person. They had some suspicions, but they
were clueless.
But they didn't know what was going on.
Right. And
But
they didn't know until it was almost time for a wedding.
Right, until you kind of hop the broom, as you say. But I think it's very important that single women should feel okay to date, and shouldn't feel that because they have children, it stops them from, doing something that's natural.
Right. And again, as you pointed out, as is the topic, it's about balance. Certainly, not suggesting that you don't have the right to date if you have children, or that you should not date if you have children. It is natural. And balance is the way of also showing your children that it's natural and how to engage in relationships. But it is about,
Because the thing about it is that your children cannot give you what a relationship can give you. Now, there are some parents who think that it can. Some parents give their whole lives up for their children. They simply say, listen, I'm not seeing nobody till the kids get grown and are out of the house. And I kind of understand that, but then I would ask the question, what happened to you? What happened? Whereas you're saying that you're not gonna date anyone. I mean, so are you questioning your own choices? Do you not trust your judgment in the person that you may want to be with? So as I keep saying the old folk, and I'm old now, folk, and that is, it's always like, it's not what you do, it's how you do it.
right.
What you do is how you do it.
How you do it.
And the key is that, and this decision making is to be considerate of your children. See how they play into this. For instance, the question is, can I balance it? Well, if you're out with him every day, when are you out with your children?
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance that?
If you make time for dating, are you making
Right.
time for your kids?
And you
Because
find
the child will notice.
right. You find yourself being in a pivotal position, whereas he's competing for your time, the kid's competing for your time, and you don't have any time for yourself.
Your job's competing for your time.
Right.
Correct.
So the question is, how do you balance that? And the answer is, it can be balanced. It can be balanced, but it's all in your hands. And the key is, your children are yours. They're going to be with you for a lifetime. They're yours. So if I'm going to prioritize, guess what? They're going to be my priority.
And you pointed on something else too. Understanding that this person is part of your life, but not your whole life.
Exactly.
Okay. This person, and of course, can be an important part of your life, but not your whole life.
Right.
And it depends on, again, the mental state of, I don't want to say the mental state. It just depends on where that single mother is in her life, in her
Right.
process, as to how she fits that into her life.
For some folk who just came on, who just joined us, I'm Dr. Willie Miles. I'm the president of Dr. Willie Miles Children's Foundation, located here in Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you all for being on. And Jackie, you tell me a little about yourself.
I'm Jacqueline Hampton Clinton, located in South Florida, a career educator, currently principal, serving as principal, and have written a curriculum as well on historically Black colleges and universities. So we've been doing quite a bit in education. And like Dr. Miles, I don't see these situations from a clinical position, but I see them as an educator. I see them from a school-based position in terms of parents dating, children being exposed to, new people in their lives.
Right. So Jackie, I question, like, then what happens when mom is dating and mom has introduced her partner to her son, and this son is 12 years old. He goes to her and says, Mom, I don't like him. She goes to him and say, my son don't like you, so we cannot date. What do you think?
I think that person, one, has not given thought prior to dating and prior to introducing someone to her son, because the question of liking, the person, while certainly open to talk about it, those things really should have been discussed ahead of time. Unfortunately or fortunately, it is that mother's role to explain to her son and her boyfriend, if you will, how this works, and to keep everyone on the same page.
Well, the other thing too is that part of this integration of your partner into your family is don't respond because the child says he doesn't like him. The question is, why?
Right. And if we're being, again, some of that's anticipated, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are many reasons for it. This is in a different scenario, but I came into an existing family. So some resistance can be expected, and that's not to say that it always has to be there. But again, to your point, Dr. Miles, it's not something that you respond to instantly, and it's certainly not a situation where you give the child the total authority to decide on your partner or not.
But and I go back to, again, talking about, asking, you have to talk to the child, does he feel threatened by him? Is he jealous because you now have given your attention to someone else who's male? And those are all possibilities. And does he feel embarrassed that his mom is dating? Yeah, I mean, is he embarrassed that his mom is dating? And so those are the kind of thoughts that children have. We have to really investigate. And are you single because of a divorce? And the child is involved with dad. Are you with me? And feels an attachment, and feels like you're actually betraying dad, even though you're divorced now, betraying dad because you're seeing someone else. So when children say they are rejecting your partner, you can find out why. But Jackie,
of course, you just raised a very important point about, their other parent. And I know in many situations, especially those that we would consider healthy, both parents talk about, usually speak to the child ahead of time about them seeing other people and about the possibility of new people becoming part of their family.
But also, yeah, again, you mentioned something about, that there should be some prior conversations, and those prior conversations should not be the day before you're going to invite this person over. And it's about explaining about adulthood, that I'm an adult, mommy wants to go out sometime, and mommy can't always go out with you because guess what? You're my child, And so because bringing somebody else into my life doesn't mean I don't love you. Simply means that, guess what? I can share my love. I have a very specific love for you. I have a very specific or love for this other individual. I want you to give them an opportunity just like I give your friends opportunities. Are you with me? So It is a conversation with the child, and sort of like a setup. And the expectation is I want you to treat them with respect. Now, on my side of the fence, I'm talking about on the other side, some kids meet the partner and cuss them out. You're like, what the F you here? And
Yeah, it seems to me at that point they're way off track. They're starting off track.
yeah, and there's not been the conversation. Mom has not explained to him what is about to happen.
What's going on exactly?
Right. And it doesn't mean that they're getting married. It means that she's going to go out occasionally. So when I'm out, you'll know who I'm with. So this whole thing really is about communication. The question again is, how do I balance it? How do I balance this single thing with the dating thing and with the children? And those are really three separate pieces. And how do you balance it? We could load a whole lot of stuff that we've not loaded. Like you said, the job, we can say your pay, we can say illnesses, we can say your ex. How do you balance all that? How do you balance all that with your children's soccer meets, the football match, all those things? So you find yourself being in the middle and being weighed down and getting depressed because you're saying, I can't handle it. I can't handle this dating thing and with my children.
I can't handle my children and dating. And it also goes back to what we also say at nearly every show, Dr. Miles.
Mm-hmm.
It's intentional and deliberate parenting, which means thought has to be put into it. Sometimes you need to research. Don't feel like you're the only one out there. Reach out, Google a little bit, see what others are doing, see what's suggested in terms of how you handle that, and conversations you need to have ahead of time. To your point, you can date successfully, and you can successfully integrate, people into your life and into your child's life. We know that millions of people have done so, but there is a process, and it does require intentional actions and conversations.
Well, a relationship is just like anything else. It takes time to develop. Not only that, but it takes time for your children to develop it with this person. And so you have to give them some space. And you have to tell your kids everything. Oh, I went out with John last night. Yeah, the kids ain't got to know all that.
Right.
They business, first of all.
They don't need to know every time you see John.
Exactly.
Right.
And don't intermingle your children's time with John's time and vice versa. For instance, if you're preparing dinner and those kids are in the kitchen and John calls, John needs to wait until you finish preparing dinner and spending time with your children, and then you talk to John.
And the other thing that I think is important, Dr. Miles, and you would know this better from a clinical side, is also, as you're dating, there's sometimes emotional roller coasters that become part of this. You also don't want to expose your child to that.
Yeah. And I hear that, because oftentimes the female who dates, if she's having a horrible time with a partner, the kids going to have a horrible time with them. But, and I don't want to put all women in the same basket, because there are women who can handle this stuff. They
and
know,
do so every day successfully.
Exactly.
Yes.
Have to be a parent to their children and be an adult to the partner. Now, the thing about it, sometimes those partners act like children, and you have to remind them that I only have 2 children. I was looking for an adult relationship. Like if somebody says to the female, you spend a lot of time with your kids, why you gotta do that? Now, that's the wrong person.
Yeah. Next.
Huh?
Anyone asking you why you spending time with your kids? Yeah, that is a problem.
If that comes out of their mouth, you should run.
You need to run.
Exactly.
It doesn't get better from there. Right.
If someone comes to your house and you've already integrated them, and they say, why your children always gotta be around us? And I'm not saying the children should be around. I'm saying, why they always gotta be here? You need to talk about that. You need to talk about, well, I'm not sure we can make this thing because my children were with me before I met you.
Right. And yeah.
But think about it. We talk about this and we say this, but a lot of women don't see it. And they say, oh, that's what my kids need. They need a strong man to tell them what to do and when to do it. And I'm saying that ain't what they need. That is not what they need.
No.
So, but you can also, I think when you bring your partner with your children, you can tell whether or not there's synergy. You can tell whether or not something has happened. And not only that, but not for just the first time, you're going to evaluate each time they get together.
Well, Dr. Miles, again, it goes back to when you asked this question, very early in the conversation. What is the single parent looking for?
Right.
What is the goal of dating? Are you looking for a life partner? Are you looking for someone to share and join the family that you already have? Or are you looking for someone just for yourself?
Yeah. I just wish that women who date wouldn't possess this neededness, that I need this person. Are you with me? Like, I
Yeah, a
need.
mindset that makes you believe that you need anyone outside of yourself, either to be well, to be happy, to be secure. Yes. That neediness can be a problem.
Yeah, because this person bought me a drink, or because this person opened the door for me, don't mean that it's over. It takes time. So one thing I want folk to do is start out. You can't be great lovers if you're not friends. So start out
Again, it
as
gets back to what are you looking for? And
friends.
what are you looking for? And I think,
Well,
Dr. Miles, a lot of people don't go into it saying, I'm looking for a friend.
And that's when they worst mistake, because you can't be in love with somebody you're not a friend of. I'm saying, and friend simply means that there is a cordiality of respect. There are boundaries. There is a compromise. There is a, I am you.
Relationship.
Right.
Right.
And so versus saying that I'm entering into a ownership.
Mm-hmm. Or
Relation.
a leadership.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you go into a relationship with a leadership,
Yeah.
whether you're aware or not, it's really that need you're fulfilling.
Right.
And so typically those needs can be, what do you call it? Very isolated or only fulfilling one need. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're in a needy state of mind, you may not be considering the other things that are important. So
Right.
I need someone financially. So you find someone financially. Are they emotionally available? No. Are they even physically available? No. But guess what? They're paying some bills, and that's good enough. What are you looking for?
Well, that is really the wrong reason. But it's true.
It's very real.
Some women look for someone to be a bank for them. And I'm saying that, but that to me, let's talk about this. That's not that, can I balance it? That's, can I use you?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about women who have a good self-esteem. We're talking about women who have children and understand their role as parents. We're talking about women who are self-sufficient, who says, I want to date, and I want to find somebody who is equal or better than me. And equal something means that I'm not coming to you needy, so please don't
Don't
come to me.
come to me that way.
I'm not needy financially and or emotionally.
Right. And again, starts there. Some self-assessment and some self-awareness.
Right.
Because if you're not aware of your real motives, then you may very well be there. You may very well be needy. And you may very well be the problem.
Well, I would say also that as you're beginning to think about this relationship with being single and dating, is ask yourself, we just said, are you ready for it? Are you ready for that extra piece?
That commitment, because it is definitely a three-way commitment between you, your child, and this new person.
Right. But if you enter it with a bunch of feelings and emotions, don't forget that feelings and emotions can distort your reality. You don't see the red flags, in other words. You don't see
Absolutely.
what you see is all the good in them. And you say, finally, I met someone who fulfilled my dreams. And my question was it a dream you were dreaming, or was it a nightmare? So the whole thing is take it slowly. Take it slowly. Jackie said it. Ask yourself, first of all, what is your wanting? 2.
And write it down and be honest with yourself about what you want. And then I think when you do that, Dr. Miles, almost not like a pro and con, but really just on a sheet of paper. So if you put your desires on one side, and then you put your child on the other, you know, not to counter, but to simply say, okay, here are the things that I want, but I don't come as an individual. I come as a family. How do all of these things that I want, how do they benefit and support my family?
You know, that's a very good idea, and not just on paper, but I'm thinking that the kids come with a bargain, and so I ain't gonna be hiding the kids. So when I meet you, after we've decided, there may be some interest, I'm saying, guess what? I have 3 children, and my children are important to me. My children are part of me. So anyone that I'm involved with not only has to accept me, but they have to accept my children.
Absolutely.
And so therefore, guess what? There are no secrets. And then either that person runs real quickly, or they smile and they say, guess what? I'm in.
Right.
I
And
just
either
hope
one's okay. Running is good, certainly if they're not up for the task.
yeah, I just hope your kids don't beat me up. So,
Right.
so the point is, either he's a family person or he's not a family person. If he's not a family person, guess what? Maybe the wrong person for you. Not only the wrong person for you, but also the wrong person for your children.
And
We're, talk-
I firmly believe that.
yeah, we're talking about tonight being single and dating. With children. Single and dating with children. Do
So,
anybody in the audience have any comments or
and I
state?
would just like a thumbs up. Do you think do you think single women should date? You know, because I've heard people go both ways. And we have a few people on. I'd just like to see some responses in our chat about, you know, single women and dating. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
And it's not again, it's not a judgment call. It is even your own personal experiences. Some people say, listen, I got children, I just ain't gonna date.
Right.
And based upon their frame of reference, what did
And do
they?
you think that's a good idea? Do you think that, you know, people with children, especially single women, do you think that they should not date at all? They should wait 20 years or 30 years until their children are adults?
So we're not gonna wait on them to respond. We're gonna keep going because our time is running on.
Right, of course.
But I would say, and the reason I keep bringing up boys, because boys usually have a special attachment to their mothers,
Right.
special attachment. And when your male child's upset with something like this right here, what normally happens is that he can become more destructive than anything else. But stop doing well in school. The point is, if you have a male child and you're dating, it's important to have patience clear. I'm not ignoring the girls. Girls are more apt to agree with the date. They're more apt to say, Mom, you should do that. But boys are hesitant. They're saying, nope, you should not do it. And I don't like them. I don't want to be around nobody else. And I hope you ain't trying to find me no daddy. And really, it's not trying to find him a daddy. It's about, first of all, trying to find an adult that I can go out to dinner every now and then. Or an adult.
It's about having, as you pointed out earlier, children play one role in your life. I'm looking for someone to play a completely different role in my life. I'm looking for someone to share my adult life with.
But also, that your children may be resistant, but it's not just be resistant. They may be afraid. They may be afraid of losing you.
Right. They may be afraid of, you know, sharing you emotionally.
Right.
Right.
So a lot goes on through their mind. So I would just say, be more patient with them. Date responsibly. Date from a perspective that I'm not trying to fall in love with nobody right away. And people say, I can't control that. Yes, you can control it. I share with couples all the time that usually when women are in love, men are still in like. So
okay, Dr. Miles. Another session.
Slow it down. Slow it down.
Slow it down for sure. Slowing down is just doing due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
It is thinking before you leap because you're not leaping alone. And it honestly is just, you know, good common sense.
You know, I'm gonna share this with you too, and I'm going someplace I should not go, but I'm going. But just be careful with thinking that because I slept with a person that I have a relationship.
uh, Back to emotional maturity. If you don't understand the differences there, then yes, there's a problem, because that leads me to believe that there are also some things you would not understand um, in the relationship between your partner and your child.
Well, it's based upon the relationship they've had in their frame of reference. That's where all this stuff comes from. If they don't know any better, they can't do any better. Are you with me? So if that's what
And
that's all they know, it's not a matter of being ignorant. It's a matter of, well, guess what? I was raised that way. That's all I know. I haven't seen anything different. So if the lens that I'm raised with, the lens that I have experienced, are going to be how I look at this person. And honey, he amazing. Are you with me?
sad but true. Yes, I
So
am.
the so the excuse me, so the problem is that he is a male that you are engaging with. But one thing you forgot about, the third party,
Yes, your children.
the children.
And Dr. Miles, we haven't mentioned it much, but there's also the dynamic when you have multiple children. Um, right, the different emotions that are going to be experienced. And I think single women should not underestimate the amount of time that you're dating will also require you to spend with your children one-on-one, talking about it, understanding their feelings, understanding their concerns, having the sort of relationship where they can tell you what their real concerns are. That's time. And a lot of times we take that for granted with our children. We put it off. We say, hey, I'm with them every day. I know they know me. I know them. We don't really need to talk. And in the meantime, as you point out, this child is harboring a number of different feelings and is not talking about it.
Right. Jackie, as usual, our time is wearing on, and we're gonna sort of like wrap up. All these national days are just, it confuses me. I know they had on Daughter's Day the other day. Tell me today is National Sons Day. I said, well, I guess my sons
Did
don't
I
think I.
miss National Daughters Day? Oh my goodness.
No, today is National Sons Day. I don't know where all this stuff comes from.
Missed that too. I'm sure
But
it's all over Facebook. I missed that too.
in case my sons are listening, it's not I don't love y'all, but it's too many national days. All right. So,
Who has time?
huh?
Back to time.
Yep. So at this point, National Sons Day, National Daughters Day, a National People's Day. So, folks, again, we always appreciate you joining in with us every week. You don't have to do this. You're spending a whole hour with us. And the analytics says that people only stay on for 15 minutes. But you guys stay on with us for a full hour each week. So really appreciate that. In case you missed it, go to our YouTube channel, Miles Children, and find the videos there. We're trying to get them up as fast as we can. Jack, as well, thank you for joining me every week. Folks, we're going to
Always a pleasure.
see you next week with an exciting topic. Look in your Instagram, Facebook, and you'll see the announcements, and we'll see you next week. Take
All
care.
right. Good night, everyone.